Our third session is Scaling Partnerships and Innovations, the way ahead for social impact. I would request the speakers to please Shri Krishna Sridhar Murthy, CEO and co-founder at Sattva Consulting. We have Mr. Kishore Balaji, Desi Kachari, Director, Digital Infrastructure Policy, Intel Corporation. So this will be a fireside chat, and I will now hand it over to Krishna to take it forward.
Thank you. I hope everybody can hear us. We are about to light the fire somewhere very soon. But Kishore, welcome. Thanks for being here, and I think we have an interesting topic to talk about. CSR has gone through fair amount of evolution. Started with compliance, people saying, no, I don't want to do this, we'll just write a check. Then they said, no, there is potentially value for us. And then there is now focus on outcome, impact assessment, utilization. Depending on who you talk to in your company, they like or don't like CSR. So of course, that's going through, I feel, a very interesting positive evolution in the ecosystem. Obviously, there's going to be some initial hurdles of compliance that we all have to kind of go through. But what I think we have seen in the last 2-3 years is the focus on both innovation and partnerships. And I think it's my pleasure to have someone from Intel leadership here who's actually kind of, in some sense, focused on both these aspects very deeply over the last kind of many years. So I hope we can all hear more about your journey. If you can maybe start us off, Kishore, with how Intel sees CSR. What is the philosophy at Intel? Yeah. And your own journey as a leader. I'm sure when you were part of the leadership team, you heard about the law. There was some reaction, some thinking, and how that has evolved over a period of time.
Yeah, sure. I'll take that. So firstly, thanks a lot for having me here. So when the organizers called me for this event, there are 3 things that came to my mind why I said yes. Firstly, how many of you all are here just because it's the first offline event? All right. Second, I think having been in this ecosystem, having seen this grow, this whole thing about innovation and impact coming together, and the ecosystem coming together is something not many speak of. So I thought this was a great platform to come in. And I also saw very less representation from the industry per se, so that made a good one. And most importantly, I think I also turned up because this is Carpe Diem, right? The amount of commitment, collaboration, and innovation that we've seen just happen at the back end of one Black Swan event in the last 1 year would have otherwise taken 9, 10, 12 years.
Yep.
Some of the largest problems have been solved in some of the least amount of time with some phenomenal partnerships that wouldn't have occurred in a regular time, right?
Yeah.
So therefore, this is a very, very optimally placed event. I only hope this group can come together to keep that momentum to address very many issues, because at the end of the day, we are a land of very many problems, right? I mean, I've heard 2 sessions go by, and we're finding it difficult to prioritize one problem over other, and everything needs to be solved equally, right? So I think these are the reasons why I chose to come and speak. Now, talking about how CSR has evolved, I mean, I come from Intel. It's been voted extremely high on ethics, and compliance is just a hygiene. We've been operating in India for 20 years, and I've been with Intel for about 11, 12 years.
Wow.
We've always operated in investment zones which are much, much beyond what the compliance angle would look like. Having said that, maybe because we're a company which was started by professors, we have an inclination to work with the education ecosystem. And a lot of what we did for the first 10 years of my work were around what we called an education continuum. We tried to solve for providing digital skills to people who weren't included. Extend that analogy, we worked in schools and trained millions of teachers to use ICT in classroom as a way to improve teaching and learning. Extend that further, we set up higher education labs, because India's perhaps the only country where you become an engineer without changing a light bulb in many cases, right? So we addressed issues of access, curriculum, faculty development onwards. And we also then further worked with entrepreneurs, both high-tech, high-growth, and some social ventures in past, and we had a credible success and all of it. Of course, there were islands of excellence when it came to sustainability, inclusion, etc. But over the last 2 years, globally, we've kind of reorganized ourselves to work on CSR on 4 pillars. Pillars of that of responsibility, inclusion, sustainability, and engagement, right? So the responsibility is where, we started off a small project about 12 years back that Intel would source minerals only from conflict-free zones.
Wow.
Now, that is a program that we are extending to our tier 1 partners. That's responsibility. We've started a program to ensure that 90% of employees feel engaged in social endeavors at Intel. There are several such initiatives as part of the responsibility pillar. From an inclusion standpoint, we have an audacious goal that 50% of Intel's leadership will be diverse in the next few years. It would be people, from color, gender, call it whatever. And we also have an audacious goal to ensure that 40% of technologists at Intel would be women, right? And several other issues that you would see us working on. For example, we did the Atal Tinker Lab program, which I had the opportunity to work with Niti Aayog. We set up the first 10 Tinker Labs as a model to scale. Now, that is to see how can we give skills to otherwise non-included technology demographic to contribute to India. Further, I think we work on AI because that's topical and that's a skill that people need because we believe AI is going to have a profound impact. It's not just another programming space, right? I mean, as a space, it'll have a 10x impact of what the advent of internet had on mankind. So it's very important for all of us to, in some way, know, appreciate, or participate in that economy, right?
Absolutely.
So we have this program called AI for Youth, which we do along with CBSE and so on. And so all these are our inclusion pillars. So then the next is sustainability. And as part of sustainability, I think we have huge goals to go net zero on several sustainability goals. And this is not like something happening up there in the corporate office, right? Even in India, if you would come to an Intel office, we have more than about 20,000 sensors in the 4 blocks that we operate in to ensure that power is optimally used, temperature is optimally regulated, and so on and so forth. And in whatever we do, I mean, we do it first. We then influence our partners and ecosystem to do it, and then we influence for the country to follow it, right? So now we are working on curriculum, et cetera, which can then go multifold and create the impact. And lastly, engagement. This is where we encourage, our employees, because I think I heard the Amazon speaker speak. I think what we bring to bear is more than just investment, right? I mean, technologists, resources, and I think companies like that of ours have a vantage from where we see the bend that technology is going to take, right? And that's the service we can actually bring into an ecosystem like this. And employee engagement, we actually have a program that pays a certain dollar to a cause for every hour an employee would go and volunteer on.
Wow.
So if an employee had to do something with you on a cause, he has to participate in that program, and I would give your organization a certain dollar for every hour he kind of does. Apart from that, there are a lot of community-related issues. I mean, I'll speak less. We have lesser time. But I think this is how we are now moving from just solving for one issue around education continuum to solving for 4 big chunks of pieces that we think we should work on.
Brilliant. So I'm picking 3 things, in what you're saying, Kishore. One, clearly go beyond compliance. Compliance is just hygiene, and I think that's really not, the end game. It's really a first step. The second, I think you're saying, is it has to be very integrated with who you are. Whatever work you do in the CSR plus ecosystem, it has to be who you are and what you bring to the table. And we shouldn't look at CSRs as spending money. We should look at CSRs as participating in development, because then it's not just about money. You're bringing a lot of other resources, your employees, your talent, your other learning, governance. A lot of the times I have seen corporates, when they participate in working with NGOs, governance standards grow up, because you're much more focused on reviews and things like that. So I think that's the message I'm in some sense taking from here. In terms of the two key topics, of partnerships and in innovation, maybe we talk about innovation first. And I think there's another panel that talked very deeply about it. What examples can you give us on where you took a little bit of a bet in CSR and said, hey, this is not a regular program. It's something to do, focused on innovation. It's going to be a little risky, but let's go try it. Right?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, I was hearing Andy Grove, one of our CEOs, just about a week back. He speaks of technology not as an occurrence. He speaks of technology as a river that flows, as a force. And there are bends that it takes where it is a little quieter, and then there are bends it takes where it's really, really harsh, right? So technology eventually progresses, and there's a continuum, right? You can imagine 3 generations back, sending a telegram would have been overwhelming. But today, WhatsApp, and it's done. So technology will become faster, accessible, and cheaper. But I think the amount of impact it can have in solving some of these issues will actually make technology the cheapest way to solve some of the global issues, including road accidents or whatever, right? So I think that's a given. Having said that, using technology and innovation is going to be at the core of every problem that you will try and solve, and we are seeing that genesis, right? I mean, if I were to speak to an audience like this 15 years back, then I would be looked at as somebody who's pushing a technology agenda. Yeah. But today, technology is integral to everything that we do in some shape or other, right? And similarly, I think innovation is a certain catchphrase that will help bridge this, solve a problem with a certain technology in mind, right? Having said that, to talk to your point, when we had to make this transition between trying to address one chunk of issue in the society versus trying to solve for tomorrow, we figured out that, everything that we're seeing in science fiction movies 10 years back is happening today, right? I mean, there are people flying around, there are drones, people are walking with artificial hearts in the back, and this is not a sudden shift. It's a gradual change, and this change is what we call the 4th Industrial Revolution, right? The first was about smoke, the fire and the assembly line, the business productivity era using IT, and now we are actually knowingly or unknowingly venturing into the 4th Industrial Revolution. And we understood that the skills of today cannot solve for the problems of tomorrow. And any education conference that you would go to, people will talk about 21st century skills. Yes, there are issues. There are no power in some certain schools. Yes, there are issues. Teacher capability and student-teacher ratio. Yes, there are issues. But somebody in the room needs to worry about how do you prepare the workforce for tomorrow, right? So you must have heard about this 3-box theory. You have to do today well. You have to plan for your midterm well. You also have to look at the third horizon and solve for tomorrow, right? And that's when I think we can insulate the country to, people cynically speak of dependence on other countries and so on and so forth. You can't change it overnight. That's a gradual process. So that's the bet we took when we set up these Tinker Labs. We said, what are the skills that you need for the kids to thrive tomorrow? The youth of India to thrive tomorrow, right? And that's not, that's much beyond, the basic skills that are being fed in certain way in the schools. And I'm not being judgmental. That's required, and that needs to be done.
Absolutely.
So that's when we set up this Tinker Lab. We created a curriculum, and that paid up very well. And this AI for youth, that's again a pivot we took. Who would have thought that sitting in a rural UP setup, an 8th standard kid called Nandini would go through an Intel AI program, 8th standard kid, perhaps 13-year-old, and get featured among the 75 most promising AI startups that got released by Prime Minister last week.
Wow, that's phenomenal.
Now, that is a transformational effort that somebody in the room has to do it. Yeah. I don't want to take away people solving here and now problem. Respect to that, needs to be done. But at the same time, somebody needs to solve for the third box, like I mentioned.
No, absolutely, and sometimes you realize tomorrow is not too far. We were talking to Dr. Ram at IISc in another panel, and he mentioned how now hundreds of crores are being spent on vaccine delivery, and he was trying to raise 25 crores in the beginning of the pandemic for vaccine development, and he couldn't raise it. And he said if he were able to do it then, we may not have required all of this money, much later. So it was just the tomorrow came much faster than we, in some sense imagined. Looking at the second, part of, our discussion today, which is partnerships, we see there can't be one hero in the social ecosystem. It's impossible because society by definition is all of us. We all have to work together. So if we have to really kind of move, the needle in a direction. I mean, let's say there is, you were able to kind of work with one Nandini, and then, demonstrate that, but to actually make it happen in every school, every place, the partnerships have to happen, the private sector, the entrepreneurial sector, the non-profit sector, these, you know, and I think pandemic was a great example of how everybody came together as well. So have you tried experiments like that where you were able to bring collaborations or partnerships together, and what has been your experience?
Yeah, so two things I'll say. Somebody may find me just outside the room and whack me for it. One, India is a graveyard of pilots. Anything on a certain pilot scale which is not voluminous tends to fail, not because of intent, not because of efforts, because of the other situations around it. The second thing is either it's that or India's islands of excellence, like the Nandini case that you point, right? I think finding scale or an optimal scale becomes very important.
Yep.
And that's when you realize that, you know, and I'm also seeing it the way corporates view themselves in the space, right? It's no more that one hero. You know, 10 years back, 15 years back, when I say I'm meaning for the industry, one entity may not do something just because another entity has already launched it. You know? So I think there were some certain trivial yardsticks to judge the impact or the necessity for programs, right, in some time in the past. But today we realize that, you know, as cliche as it may sound, it takes a village to solve a problem.
Yep.
We don't have all the pieces of the puzzle ourselves, right? As a technology company, what do I bring in? I bring in technology, I bring in know-how, I bring in the advantage of what's going to happen in future, maybe some dollars. What does somebody else in the room bring in? That actual ability to execute, the actual ability to speak vernacular, the actual ability to be closer to the ground, right? What does one more minute? What does the a policymaker or stakeholder bring in? The promise of scale. You need all these people in the same room, right? Therefore, it's eminent that no amount of systemic change. The previous speaker also spoke about the vision, mission, and where they say system in their vision. No amount of systemic change to scale can happen by one entity acting just by itself. I'm perhaps invited today by some of these friends because 6-7 years back, when we found that internet penetration and usage of technology was poor, lopsided in the India too, we started a digital literacy program at Intel. The only change we made is as soon as we started, we went and sought partnerships, and we onboarded more than 60, 70 partners and 12 fellow travelers. And we started something called a National Digital Literacy Mission.
Wow.
That was inaugurated by Sachin Pilot. That year, we got them to include making one person per household digitally literate as part of the IT policy, and rest is history. So there is a power to consortium coming together, and people, the country and the community stands to gain by everybody standing, holding hands across rather than one pilot or one non-scalable excellence.
And I vouch for that program because a lot of that content, I know a lot of, personally, many NGOs that I was part of at that time helping out, using that content, which was a 1 day, 1 month kind of a training program. Unfortunately, we are out of time, but Kishore, thank you very much. We could have easily gone on for much, much longer, but really appreciate you taking the time out to be with us this evening. And a big round of applause for Intel and Kishore for all the wonderful work they're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to the panelists. I feel bad asking you all to end the session where there's so much passion, but we have to go. So I'll request Kumarji to hand over the memento to Shri Krishna Sridhar Murthy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
As well as to and as well as to Mr. Kishore Balaji.
Now it feels like a wedding, huh?
Thank you. Big round of applause for our panel.